Hi, welcome to week 3 pattern. So just an overview, what happened in week 2. I think everybody did well. And of course, we have a pretty small class, so it's really important, I hope, as you are trying things out, look at other people, look at other comments. The goal here is that you all are really going to be on the very same journey, and many of the concepts, while they seem different now, will become very similar later. So just make sure as you're going through to check feedback on other people's work. It helps me a little bit not repeating myself too much. Not that I mind, but it might help also that you get a idea that you might not have had if you hadn't looked at someone else's work. So I think you all are doing that just to make sure that's the intent. One thing that is unusual in this class is that we are using these third-party places to do our work. So for example, if I selected one of these databases today, you could go in tomorrow and change the entire thing. And that's my expectation, is that you don't have to change, you don't have to keep anything. And so I'm just using this as an example. One comment that I give quite a bit, and it's in the rubric, and I want to make sure everybody understands that, is that something to do with, and I don't see it here anymore. Well, here it is, TripAdvisor. So this, for example, goes to TripAdvisor. You got the data from TripAdvisor, which is fine to start, and that was the goal. We just wanted to get started. Now you can add anything you want, and you don't want to refer to another site, because that isn't the goal here, is to rebuild TripAdvisor. It's just to learn from them. So I would go ahead and delete this URL. Almost all URLs in your examples are not going to be useful. If they do point to a picture, you can just, for the moment, fake it and just say picture goes here, or pictures. Another tip, one important thing about pictures is text that describes what the picture is. So just to be a little more complex here, think about, what does this picture do? Is it a book cover? Well, then you might have to have a column of image explanation, for example, to say this is a book cover for Frankenstein. Just saying that without making things too complicated. It's more about text right now. But this week we're looking for pattern, and this is a great example here of a pattern, pardon me, is a cuisine type. And what's great is that Airtable goes to the trouble and actually shows you that there's more than one place that has this, or can group by places. So we're thinking about a lot about these groupings. The reason why is that if every line here is unique and has nothing to do with each other, it's much more difficult later to figure out how to organize these. And we're looking to have potentially, whatever your topic is, millions and millions of example rows of data to organize. So you have to think now at a sort of a higher level. How do you organize big groups? So hopefully that was a little bit. So as I said, if it comes to you having a link to something, feel free to change it all the time. It's fine. And that's why if you want me to take another look, you could just put a comment and say, take a look again. There isn't any reason to keep any versions for posterity. I think it's always going to be, we call this iterative design. We're always going to be iterating. So let's talk about this week. We talked about that one field, trying to find ways of grouping things. You can go through the perfume. The idea of perfume here is I did find a place called Fragrantica, which basically has lots and lots of descriptive terms about perfume. It's a really fun site to go look if you wanted to see just how many fields, let's call it that, they have about a perfume. It has to do with, well, I could actually just show it to you. They'll talk about what kind of smell it has, very interesting. If people have it, that's another data point that's interesting. What people feel about it, what time of the year. It's really exhaustive. And here's a whole list of the smell ingredients that go into it. So really cool database, and really inspired me as I built out my data from the perfume area here, which was pretty, it didn't tell me much. It just kind of said, here's a name, here's whatever a note is, maybe there's some basic descriptions and price. So the goal is to expand. And that's a good example of how do I expand my database to contain more data, because as we learned from Twitter, the more supporting data, the more you can actually narrow things down in a powerful way. So what I'm going to ask first is just take a look at your records. Is there a grouping column? Is there some concepts that you might need to group by? Do you need to understand those concepts? If it's a topic that you're not familiar with, it might be difficult to find those. And then the most critical thing as we get into pattern, people love hierarchy, which is what's more important than another. That helps you contextualize what you're looking at. Like, is it the name of something? Is that the most important thing? Maybe, maybe not. It's something for you to think about. So each of these ideas here this week is to get you to think and to expand your data set. In this case, I'm just going to ask right out, what more fields can you add to make this more useful or more universal is another good one. And then this is a little bit tricky since we aren't really designing necessarily to have that be our final product. It's the exploration of how do you organize things, but is there any use that this has? And when you think about use, it also gives you a little bit of a clue at hierarchy. So think about this a little bit. We can discuss if you do need to make action, if that action is to purchase, that's fine. We don't have to go too deeply into a purchase model, but if there's some other action, it might start you thinking around different fields you might need to be able to support that action, such as one that just came up that was interesting is a business that I was looking at, and is it open or closed? It seems miraculous that you can find that out just by searching for something on a map now, and I did find it was closed, so it was really helpful. But that's that may be more of a transitive or more. How about hours? If we're going to say, you could just have a column of what hours you open and what hours you open from. That might just be a clue about how do they compute and how they find out whether it's open or closed. So that could be metadata, just to let you know, because it would depend on the time of day. Anyway, a lot to think about this week, and also just the general idea. Humans love pattern. They look for it everywhere. So this week is trying to find those patterns in your data, and if you don't have them, try to understand how do you invent them. So hope that helps you get started. As always, contribute early, change things often. Everything is up for grabs in terms of the feedback is there to just help you move faster and try things out. Hope everything goes well this week. Thanks.